Hello, Satsangat Astrology here again. This time to talk about the end of June. That it's bringing something new, of course, because we have the solstice. It is summer solstice in the northern hemisphere and is winter solstice in the southern hemisphere, right? So it's a crucial time of the year, and we will talk about that. And I will also talk about the Cancer new moon happening at the end of the month, right? It's happening June 28, 2022 at 7 degrees 23 minutes. For this one, I will share with you the Sabian symbol from Dane Rudyard mandala, and is, of course, the 8th degree of Cancer. And it says the tendency in all forms of life to imitate higher forms as a stimulus to growth. Elevation, learning, right? And we'll come back to this saving symbol. But for now, I would like to give you my contact information in case you would like to learn astrology with me. I have a complete course that you will receive the first class for free, just to taste the waters, right? Taste and test. See what is my teaching style and if it is for you or not. And the first class has a $50 value and it will be free for you. So I encourage you to explore that. And then you can always contact me on social media, as you see on the screen. And I receive payments and donations by PayPal. And here you have my email address if you like to contact me for a reading and give me more confidential information that you won't share on social media. So, of course, I always encourage you not to share confidential information on social media. So having said that, I will stop share, and I will talk about this time of the year that is called the solstice, right? It is always around the 19th to the 22nd of June, is never on the same day, because the solstice is determined by the entrance or the ingress of the sun on 0 Cancer. Right, the cycle have started in March, right? The astronomical and astrological tropical calendar. And for that, I will share my screen here. I will share an illustration so I can explain more in depth what it means, what the solstice means, well, it seems there is no bigger way to show this. Anyways, here you have the image of the schematic, of course, the orbit of the Earth around the sun, right? And first of all, is elliptic, right? It's an ellipse. And the Earth, as you observe here, has a tilt. The axis of the Earth has a tilt, and the tilt is 23.4 degrees, right? And it means that is kind of wobbling around the sun in a way that puts emphasis on the sun rays on one part of the globe or another, right? When we have the March equinox, for example, we have equal light on the northern and southern hemisphere because the tilt goes the other way, right? So, and here we have a zero precession. This symbol is for the precession. So, and then when we come to the June solstice, around 20 or 21st, depending on the year, sometimes earlier than that, we have that the day is the longest in the northern hemisphere. And the shortest in the southern hemisphere, as you see, because of the tilt of the Earth axis. Another thing to consider is also that the Earth goes around the ecliptic, right, and determines the tropical zodiac. Many people have problems with the zodiac, the tropical zodiac, because they say exactly because of the precession, the dates are wrong, and there is another zodiac called the sidereal, and the sidereal zodiac is based on the constellations. But that zodiac is more for global, more for astrology of nations and big events that are international and for the global thing, right? And the tropical zodiac is more localized on the Earth. So it is more for us on Earth, and how the year progresses as the Earth progresses around the sun, how we experience changes, the changes of the seasons. And those are important for the cycles of life on Earth, including our life, right? Is not the same living in the summer as living in the winter or the spring or the fall. The cycles of life follow the tropical zodiac, right? The tropical the orbit of the Earth around the sun, and as the sun reaches the Earth in different ways, then life can develop in different ways, right? At this time, while we cook in ultra super heat on the northern hemisphere, they are freezing cold in the southern hemisphere already, and the summer has not yet began. So we've had this heat and cold waves, right? The northern and the southern hemisphere for about a month already, and we are not even in the summer. So from now on through September, we are in the summertime in the northern hemisphere, and a very, very cold winter time in the southern hemisphere. So having said that, it's important to understand how the tropical zodiac has been designed, right, and calculated based on the orbit of the Earth around the sun. Okay, so let me now go to the chart of the summer solstice or winter solstice. So here we have the chart of the sun ingress in Cancer. And as you see in this chart, make it bigger so I can see it as well. I always draw the chart with Aries rising because it's the natural zodiac, the natural tropical zodiac, right? It doesn't have anything to do with the constellations, although it borrows the names of the constellations for the signs. Anyways, so as I explained before, the astronomical tropical calendar starts in Aries, and it started on March 21st or around that day. And at that time, the cycle of life starts, right? The plants start to grow and develop. The animals have babies and they start developing, right? But now we are at the summer or winter solstice. And here in when the sun ingress Cancer, we have is the first quarter square, right? Is the crisis in action where where nature starts giving birth to things, right? It starts giving fruits. The animals start walking around, the babies, right? And so on. So nature starts fulfilling its creation, the measure or the dimension of their nature. Each species on its own, right? So including us. But for our personal life, what it means is that we, in March, we are able to get started on something that will last the whole year, right? And it's a good time to get started. But at the point of the solstice, it is the the potential, the complete and full potential of the creativity, where we have this push of energy to give form to things, right? And Cancer, of course, is the sign of having the baby, having the offspring, the birth of something that has been growing and developing before. So this is the importance of the solstice. And then in this chart, we have a chart that is very cardinal, of course, and is it has a lot of fire. If you look down here, it has 12 points of fire against 6 of earth and 6 of water. There is it is the chart of great inspiration, great changes in the spirit of the times. So you will probably get very inspired to do things to take into form those seeds that you planted in the spring. So it's it emphasizes the starting of the new era here in Aries, and because now it's taking form, you are making something real. You are taking action to do things. So, however, this time around, the moon is at the last quarter square here, in the cycle of Gemini, right? We had last month the new moon in Gemini, and the full moon in Sagittarius, the axis of the thought, the practical mind, and the higher mind. Let's say the meaning, right? Sagittarius is the mind that looks for meaning and context for the ideas. and place them in groups or associations, right? Like philosophies, ideologies, belief systems, etc. So we are finishing that cycle. We are closing that cycle of the mind. And the moon, of course, will be soon, 1 week or 10 days later, start in Cancer, the new moon in Cancer that will really get this solstice energy started. So, we have the highest degree planet is Venus. So Venus issues will be emphasized a lot, especially because it's so close to the North Node, and we will be pursuing Venusian matters, Venusian issues and subjects like relationships, agreements, contracts, money matters, financial matters. So having the highest degree of Venus gives us this focus on values, on things that are important for us. And if you see, there is a trine to Pluto, which makes this Venusian subjects more intense, more important, more emphasized, even obsessional, right? And it also helps with the financial aspects of Venus, because Pluto rules debt, mortgages, and all the taxes issues, right? In goods of the dead, meaning inheritance and things like that, banking, right? Both Venus and Pluto rule the banking and the investments. So all those matters will be highly focused on the chart. And at the same time, we have here near the midpoint between these two, we have the midpoint between the moon and Neptune, right? And this makes it for a very intuitive ability regarding money or financial matters, but also an emphasis on things that may be disappearing, right? There may be a dissolution of the finances in some aspect. Inflation may be emphasized here, and also Venus rules, especially in Pisces, it emphasizes gas. So we may see the gas prices increase even more. I think that at some point they might reach even $10 a gallon in the States. It could be pretty ugly. So prepare accordingly, and especially watch for your finances and money matters. Be more conservative, because Neptune here, emphasized by the moon, and the decreasing moon, right, is the waning moon, can really give losses. And Neptune in Pisces is losses, and the moon is, as I said, is waning. So we are losing the value of the money. So inflation may continue regardless of the political measures taken. So that's one of the things that are important to consider. Other things is that there is this stellium in Aries with a central Chiron that is, I think, at 16 degrees. So we have a lot of fire, and we have another trans-Neptunian object, which is Eris. Eris is the goddess of discord and chaos. So we have, in fact, 5 important cosmic bodies in Aries, which makes for a lot of fire, a lot of movement, a lot of action, right? Fire gives action. So in initiatory activities. So Mars is very initiatory, and Aries is very strong. But at the same time, having Chiron there is something is not tasteful. Something is all the activities that you might do in the house where these are transiting, something may not go very well. Even though there is a lot of activity, it may not always benefit. We need to consider that there is an applying square from the sun to Jupiter and the moon, right? The moon is applying to the sun. The square here may have this tendency to overdrive, right? To have to be over optimistic, over enthusiastic, and to do a lot of things with a lot of energy, but that won't give the results, good results, because it's too much, right? So make sure that you don't rely on this getting started too fast, too soon, too much, because of the square to the sun. Even by sign, right? Mars is by sign is squaring the sun. So there is an intense transformation or regeneration of values, right? What we value will be in question. Everything that you think that had value for you, you will question it. We also have Mercury, your mind, and Gemini, very strong there. We have three planets in their own home. Well, if we count the traditional rulership of Saturn in Aquarius, so we have 5, because Neptune in Pisces is the modern ruler. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 with Venus in Taurus and Mercury in Gemini. So we have a very strong, powerful energy by rulership. And Mercury is also in sextile to Jupiter here, almost exact. Let me see. Jupiter is at 6 degrees, Mercury at 740. So yeah, we have separating sextile from Mercury from Jupiter. So be careful of your mind in overdrive, thinking a lot, having too much mental activity, because of also it could you may choose to be over optimistic, and it may not work as good. So, and also to have a grandiose perspective, like things that look for in your mind look too good to be true. So there is more curiosity, more mental need to explore, and to there is an intellectual optimism that we can solve things. Reasoning will be very positive. So, and especially there could be focus, mental focus on the global perspective, on globalization, on how these finances affect the whole world, right? Like talking about a universal currency or similar things, or some, I don't know, universal salary, or things that have been in the minds of certain people for a long time. There might be over optimism about the result of those proposals or projects or ideas. So the sun is also in quincunx with Pluto, so they don't see eye to eye. This transformation in Capricorn, right? The transformation of institutions and whatever you have personally in your Capricorn house has been in deep transformation since 2008. Now this sun in Cancer doesn't see eye to eye with that. It means this sun in Cancer is looking for safety, for nurturing. It's emphasizing family life, and it's emphasizing the need for sustenance, right? Sustenance that also comes in Taurus, but here is more the sustenance that we need for to feel safe, right? To have a roof over our heads, to have the utilities paid, for example. So in the quincunx from Pluto to Cancer, it has the energy of Virgo. This quincunx has a Virgo energy because it's 150 degrees. So it has the flavor of the need to repair something, the need to make an adjustment. There is out of balance thing, something in conflict. There is a conflict, there is something that is not well balanced there, that needs repair, that needs to be fixed. So, but also talks about perseverance, persistence in working on that, and the desire to reform, the need for control, right? And this quincunx or in conjunct gives much worry about the future, and especially worry about the safety, the security. Am I going to have a roof over my head? Am I going to have a protection for my children? Am I going to have food on the table for my family, and things like that? So there is even sometimes it could lead to manipulations in order to achieve those needs. And it could talk about the not accepting the status quo, not accepting the circumstances as they are, and trying to control the home, the family, the health, the finances, the food, and for example, families that are saving for the rainy day, or storing food for the months of scarcity, and sometimes there could be lack of security and a lot of uncertainty in those areas. So I think it's a challenging solstice, especially because it's time for action. It's time to get into things and get, you know, lift the sleeves and go to work. Something else that I would like to point out is this conjunction here of Uranus and the North Node is already active within orb and is very explosive, is unexpected, sudden. And since it is in Taurus, it talks about, as I said many times before, about the stability of finances, resources, especially distribution of food. We've seen around the world natural catastrophes due to the higher temperatures in the northern hemisphere and freezing cold in the southern hemisphere. Even there is these extremes, right? Yesterday, this past week in Europe, there was heat and then followed by ice storms. How do you call this? Well, I forgot. Those balls of ice, and I don't have the word now. Anyways, it might be funny for you listening to this, but yeah, they had hail right after the intense heat. So those extremes are very much due to Pluto, but also the North Node with Uranus makes it for completely out of the norm and unexpected and very out of the blue. And the drought is also affecting the harvests, because many products that were growing right since the spring are now requiring water, and there's none. So we can expect shortage of certain food in the coming months and even the winter time. So it would be wise to become frugal and also store the food that your family eats so you can have along the way. And another thing to now more global perspective is that you see all these planets in the first quarter of the zodiac, right? We are starting things. We are getting into action here, into giving life to something. But the slow outer planets, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto, they're still working on dissolving and destroying the past, right? The previous paradigm, especially with Pluto here, finishing its work in Capricorn for the next 6-8 months, it will come and ravage everything that was left for cleansing, for decluttering, right? Especially political institutions, corporation institutions, etc. So, and Saturn is also revising the rules for society, for the collective. Neptune is also dissolving everything. So there is a cycle that is ending, and the new, at the same time, something new is starting here. So these other planets will be working for Pluto for a long time. Moving to Aquarius, it will take their 40 years and some more in Pisces. But Saturn will move next year to Pisces and will travel for 2.5 years in Pisces before meeting again, giving us a new start, a new clean start, clean slate start in Aries, because they are conjoining at 0 Aries. Is that significant, right? So we'll see that later on in 2 or 3 years. But for you to have just a bird's eye view of the situation. So now I will speak then about the new moon in Cancer. So this is the chart for the new moon in Cancer. And since I already explained most of it, because this happens just 1 week, 8 days after. So you have the date here, 28th of June. Here in Central Time is 9:53 p.m. and Universal Time is 2:53 a.m. on the 29th. So the new moon happens at 7 degrees 23, as I said before, and is in perfect square, almost perfect square to Jupiter. So much so that there is just a few minutes away. In this new moon in square to Jupiter may give way to too much, too soon, too big. And there could be backlashes because of being over optimistic. So be careful if you have things that look too good to be true, too much confidence, too much generosity, but it could represent also cultural problems, religious problems, and problems with actions taking based on ideologies and belief systems, because Jupiter is acting in Aries, and very much so, since here you see the elements is 9 points of fire and 9 of water. So we have equal amount to fire and water, which means, what does it mean? Well, it means that there's going to be very emotional actions and movements. There could be people going to the streets, imposing or claiming their cultural identity, Aries, their religious identity, Aries, or also highlighting the differences between different ethnicities. So I heard today in the news some important Israeli official representative of the official government saying that it would be better to send all the Palestinians to Switzerland. I mean, there are extreme positions, political positions that are not sane, that are not promoting peace, right? Necessarily, not necessarily. It's become more and more difficult to live in, at peace together. I wish people will sing more often the John Lennon, song, imagine all the people living life in peace. Oh. It would be nice if people thought more in terms of peace, especially politicians, in trying to find ways of living in peace together. That will be fantastic, but again, it will be too good to be true, right? And there is also the emotional support could be weakened because of this square, right? Jupiter, I mean, many people say that Jupiter is so benefic and so lucky, it's so general, it's so good. Well, listen, Jupiter only exaggerates things, makes it bigger. It doesn't mean that what Jupiter makes bigger is always good. Not always. So no matter if it is a square or a trine, too much of anything is not good. So I will caution you about this new moon. If you're getting something started, you better wait until at least the moon moves on farther, maybe into Leo, where it makes a trine to Jupiter. That will be less forceful, right? More, you would have your mind more inclined to consider, why is this too much, right, or not? So, and as usual, when you get something started, wait until you see the moon smile on the sky a couple of days after, usually. So you may overspend money these days around the new moon. So be cautious, be conservative, and think through things if it's really necessary, if you really need it, it is good for you, and especially if you will have enough for later on, because as I said, I don't like the quincunx on the solstice from the sun to Pluto. So try to temper the overindulgence. Another thing that I would like to point out is that in between the solstice and the new moon, there is Mars conjunct Eris. They are two warriors, right? Mars brings the impetus, the impulse, the initiative, and Eris the resentment, the chaos, right? The need to go and defend her identity and say, here I am important, my life matters, no matter what you say, my life is important. And in Aries, she is defending her identity and her own very own existence. So Mars is adding the fire here, and so a couple of days before the new moon, it could be really some explosive protests or activities, or even worsening of the war for some reason. This is practically all the important highlights that I would like to point out for this chart. Venus has already moved into Gemini with Mercury. So we have a very nice couple here exchanging loving information. Pretty soon they will join. I haven't looked at the date, but it's going to be soon, their conjunction, which is very nice sometimes. So I think this is a positive place to think peace and harmony, to add our mental activity and communication as well, talking about making peace, making an agreement of peace as well, because Venus is contracts and Mercury makes deals, you know. So I'm going to read now the Dane Rudier's Sabian symbol for this new moon in Cancer at the 8th degree in the zodiac. So it says, a group of rabbits dressed in human clothes walk as if on parade. So there's a tendency in all forms of life to imitate higher forms as a stimulus to growth. So this rather strange symbols points to what is essential in all first attempts at developing consciousness and furthering one's growth through association with those who have already reached a superior evolutionary or mental level. So it means to seek for the exemplar, for imitating, for example, the higher power, reaching for the higher self. And it is the start of a learning process. So with this, I leave you with the chart, and I hope that this information helps you, food for thought, as I always say. And if you have any questions or comments, I encourage you to comment in the comments below. And all my contact information will be in the box below, the description box below. So until next time, thank you for watching, and I wish you a very, very nice solstice and new moon in Cancer. Goodbye now.